Tonight, a heavy dose of the flu. As hospital admissions hit record levels, community pharmacies warn they're running out of vaccines. Also making the headlines as temperatures plummet, the Central Belt wakes up to black ice and treacherous conditions, and a fresh weather warning for the weekend. In sport, Tierney talks. Celtic make their move to bring former star Kieran Tierney back to the club. And looking back at Scotland's coal industry, captured on camera by an American photographer. I'm Kellyanne Woodland. This is the STV News at 6. Good evening. Community pharmacies in Scotland say they're running out of the flu vaccine because demand for it has been higher than they expected. They had to order the jabs almost a year ago before a number of key groups were removed from being eligible for it on the NHS. It comes amid hospital admissions for patients with the virus hitting record levels. Our senior reporter Gordon Cree has been following the story.
In truth, we can't be sure how many people have the flu because for many it simply means staying at home and maybe taking to their entered the system, whether at the doctors or at hospital, and have had a test which has been confirmed in a lab. We're told the levels of those coming back positive are extraordinary. That means a lot more people on the wards with the flu. The Health Secretary, Neil Gray, says the NHS is already facing significant winter pressures, and this only adds to that. He's urging everyone who's offered the vaccine to get it and help protect themselves and stop the spread.
In Kilmarnock this morning, a vaccination centre immunising people who can get the flu jab on the NHS. That includes everyone aged 65 and over, as well as any adult with certain underlying health conditions.
There's been a sharp rise in respiratory illnesses and flu cases across Scotland, which is causing a rise in hospital admissions, which puts huge pressure on services. At this time of year, we always expect a rise, but that rise could be reduced if people came and got their flu jab. So if they're eligible, please come and get your flu jab. There are drop-in clinics all across Scotland. All you need to do is check NHS Inform for further details.
Well, this year, fewer people have been eligible for the flu vaccine on the NHS, and that's meant an increase in demand for them privately at local pharmacies. Problem is, many of them are now running out.
This pharmacy in Edinburgh has just a handful of doses left.
Pharmacies each year place their orders well in advance of the flu season, so actually around about February time. So these guys will already be thinking about what they need for next year. Whereas sometimes the policy decisions for who's eligible for an NHS vaccine happens much later in the year. Typically 2024, where we're looking at September.
With people aged 50 to 64 and professions like teachers and prison officers no longer able to claim an NHS vaccine, that meant pharmacies providing privately for many more than expected. They say they need to be involved in the planning process much earlier to help smooth that out in years to come. All of that as the number admitted to hospital in Scotland with influenza reached more than 1,500 last week, the highest ever recorded.
Well, seasonal influenza is a challenge potentially in any year for us, and why we see some increases in one year as opposed to not very much activity in another is really just a chance thing. We don't quite understand why that would be the case.
And the experts say it's too soon to know if we've yet reached the peak. Gordon Cree, STV News, Edinburgh.
Another weather warning is in place across the country tonight. This time it's for ice. Many parts of the Central Belt woke up to black ice and dangerous conditions on the roads and pathways. Last night, 3 people were rescued from the Cairngorms after they got into difficulty, and the wintry conditions are set to last into the weekend. Vanessa Taff has the latest.
These aren't the conditions you want to find yourself in on top of a hill. Battling the blizzard, mountain rescue teams were dropped off by helicopter before hiking 8 kilometres to help 3 walkers back to safety.
there was a lot of turbulence and landing was a problem. So the helicopter got us as far into the Cairngorms as they could. Because of the weather conditions and we thought they may have hypothermia.
It was a slippy start in the cities too. The roads offering more grip than the treacherous conditions on some footpaths. In Glasgow, the gritters are loading up for another night. However, some parts of the city not on the priority routes were hazardous this morning. These icy and wintry conditions are set to last. The Met Office has issued a Scotland-wide warning for ice, which is in place until 10 a.m. tomorrow. That could see further disruption as we head into the weekend.
Last night we saw temperatures drop to lows of -6 in parts of Dumfries, -4 in Salisbury. Tonight it will be even colder, with lows expected of -7 for the likes of Glenshee, -8 in Huntly. So that's why we will see some further icy conditions tomorrow morning. It will remain bitterly cold over the weekend, and we are expecting that snow on Sunday.
While it may look picture perfect for this time of year, the country is bracing for a wintry weekend, which will take some time to clear. Vanessa Taff, STV News.
Footfall in Scotland's shops slumped over the festive period. It comes as analysts warn retailers face a cocktail of increasing costs. The Scottish Retail Consortium says it's been a drab year overall for the sector, which is dealing with rising costs such as the UK government's employer national insurance increase and higher business rates imposed by Hollywood. Our political reporter Laura Alderman has the story.
The new year means it's time to pack away all the old, unsold Christmas stock at this shop in Edinburgh. But over the peak festive period, their sales had a little less sparkle than expected.
We can see the numbers are lower than last year or the year before. It's hard. We also have the Brexit, because we are mainly importing 98% of what we have in the shop. So it's a big cost for us. Our online shop has been increasing around 60% than the previous December. We're not happy and I'm not laughing to the bank, but it's okay.
New figures from the Scottish Retail Consortium show overall footfall in Scotland's shops was down 2% last year. It includes a 2.5% year-on-year fall in the 3 months to December, a period known as the golden quarter for retailers.
Overall, people's shopping habits are changing, with more and more Scots preferring to look online for deals than coming to the high street in person. And with the continuous squeeze on household budgets, more people are opting to spend money on experiences instead, like going on holiday, to concerts and eating out.
I travel a lot, so I spend money for traveling or going to a festival or something like that.
I think it's important to keep independent shops open, so we've got some choice and some selection to make rather than shopping online.
I shop locally all the time, pretty well all the time. I don't need stuff any longer. I've been throwing it away for a few years now. So yes, I like to go to the theatre. I like to go places and do things, yes.
Outdoor retail parks performed well as shoppers look for free parking. But analysts warn there's still little festive cheer for retailers.
Well, retailers in Scotland are facing a cocktail of cost increases, whether that's from the UK government in terms of higher employers' national insurance contributions, but also from the Scottish government in terms of the higher business rate. And that's really challenging at a time when shopper footfall is obviously declining and retail sales are weak.
It's too soon to know what effect declining footfall is having on sales in Scotland's shops, but there could be more gloomy news to follow for retailers as shoppers tend to hold on to their cash in January. Laura Alderman, STV News, Edinburgh.
Other stories now, and Rangers fans have been urged to contact the police with information which could lead to the arrest of a supporter who hit Celtic midfielder Arnie Engels with a coin. The incident happened in the closing stages of yesterday's match at Ibrox. The SPFL says football banning orders must be put in place for what it calls disgraceful conduct. The first drug consumption room in the UK will open in Glasgow on the 13th of January. It will allow drug users to take illegal substances under medical supervision in a bid to support people to tackle their addiction. The facility in the east end of the city will be known as the Thistle and will be open every day of the year. Police are appealing for witnesses after a teenager was left seriously injured after being hit by a car. The 15-year-old was knocked from an electric bike on Orris Drive in Barrhead on New Year's Day. Police have now confirmed a car, believed to be a silver Vauxhall Astra, failed to stop after hitting the boy. A couple have been ordered to do 300 hours of unpaid work after a baby was taken to hospital with traces of cocaine in its system. Yasmin Manzoor and Connor McBride cared for the child in Glasgow's Pollokshaws, but the baby was discovered unwell in May 2023 and rushed to hospital. The pair earlier pleaded guilty to causing unnecessary suffering to the child's health. Donald Trump has criticised the UK's policy on oil and gas production, urging the UK government to open up the North Sea and get rid of windmills. The US President-elect said in a social media post that Britain was making a very big mistake on its energy policy. In October, the UK government said it would raise the so-called windfall tax on companies drilling in the North Sea. And houses were evacuated and a road was closed this morning after a lorry crashed into a gas main. The incident happened south of Dunoon on the A815 at Cowell Kirk at about 5:20. There were no reported injuries. Scottish Gas Networks said the incident impacted the gas supply to several homes near the collision. The road has now reopened. A woman who died on Hogmanay in a hit-and-run in Paisley has been named. 70-year-old Elizabeth Kennedy was struck by a white car on Barrhead Road. The car failed to stop after the collision. Police say inquiries into the crash are ongoing, and anyone who saw the car in the area around the time of the incident is urged to get in touch. A new £1.8 million football hub in Greater Pollock is hoping to inspire the next generation of young footballers from the community. Hillwood Football Club, who train at the Priest Hill facility, has been running for nearly 6 decades and provided opportunities for thousands of local children. Well, Ollie Dickinson went along to see the new space and the team behind it.
It's a cold, busy night at Hillwood Football Club as 3 of their teams get their training underway. The club has more than 300 players, boys and girls, from aged 3 to adult football. Standing watching is Willie Smith, the man who as a boy nearly 60 years ago was handed a £20 provy cheque by his mum to buy a kit and start a team. He and an army of volunteers have turned that £20 into opportunities for thousands.
The growth and the amount of participants in our teams, both boys and girls, is absolutely fantastic. It's got that family atmosphere about it. We look after them every day and they look after us. The great support when we've been, as you know, probably somewhere in the region of about 8 Scottish Cup finals. I think we've won about 5 of them.
Over the years, Hillwood has produced some fantastic famous faces. Kenny Burns, Alex McLeish, Tommy Coyne, Owen Coyle and Ross McCormack have all pulled on the jersey. So too did David McCracken. A stellar career, north and south of the border, all started on the Hillwood Park.
You know, back in the day when I kind of first started out, it was Red Ash Parks. You know, it was kind of training at different places now and then, you know, and trying to find kit, you know, and everything else. But, you know, to look at the difference here, the facilities that they've got, the resources now, it's all the hard work that Wally and the staff have done over the kind of past 10, 15 years to actually get it to this point.
Now the club has taken another step forward. Completion of its new £1.8 million sports hub. The new changing rooms, kitchen and events room mean the next generation of players and coaches have a space to call their own.
I literally stay 30 seconds down the road, and I mean, I've grown up with Hillwood. I played with them since the age of, I think I was 6 or 7. I mean, I grew up with the Porter Cabin. Honestly, it was absolutely stone cold. And the winter nights, we've got hats and gloves inside the changing rooms. But they've got it well and they deserve it.
Before we had the pure containers and it was ruined in that, but the new one, yeah, it's good.
It's a good facility. The canteen as well. You can go get a drink before the game to dehydrate, and after the game you can get something to eat.
For Willie, the hub is the realisation of a dream 25 years in the making. But far from admiring his work, those who know him claim he's already on to his next project. Ollie Dickinson, STV News.
All right, plenty to get through in sport. And Ronnie, you've got some big news coming from Celtic tonight.
Yes, Kellyanne, the transfer window is only 3 days old, but already Celtic pushing for a big name to come back to Parkhead.
STV Sport, sponsored by the C.R. Smith New Year Sale.
Good evening. Celtic have opened talks to re-sign defender Kieran Tierney on a pre-contract from Arsenal. The 27-year-old left Parkhead in 2019 for £25 million, but his deal in North London is set to expire in the summer. STV understands Tierney would be keen for a move back to his boyhood club, and if a pre-contract agreement can be reached, Celtic could explore the possibility of the left-back signing this month. Well, the fallout continues from yesterday's Old Firm Rangers win, with goalscorer Yanis Hadji saying the squad must now consistently show that level of performance for the rest of the season. Meanwhile, after they suffered their first defeat in the league, Celtic's Alistair Johnston says they'll take their medicine and use their Derby Day hurt as motivation going forward.
He lit the touch paper in the New Year's derby that helped blow away their rivals. Now Yanis Hadji is hoping the 3-0 win over Celtic can be a catalyst for more.
Perfect word for us right now is consistency, and I think no one can deny that. We didn't really have that throughout the season up until now. We're a team, obviously, that can hit these type of heights, and we need to do that consistently, and everybody knows that in the dressing room.
It was the dream start to 2025 for Philippe Clement's side. Despite coming into the match as heavy underdogs, Rangers outmuscled, outfought and outclassed their Glasgow rivals to cut the gap at the top to 11 points. It's a result that also eases some of the pressure on the Rangers manager, with the spotlight on the Belgian after recent poor results. But he insists the derby win shows the club is on the right track.
I know and I knew in June that this was a really, really big challenge. And I do it because I love this club so much, and the fans and everybody in the building. This is a massive club, but we're not there yet where we want to be. And I want to be part of that to get this club back to the level it needs to be.
For Celtic, their first domestic defeat of the season. From the dressing room, a call to use this result as motivation, and from the manager, a message of calm, with the club still way out in front in the race for the title.
We reached the halfway point in the season, 11 points clear. Players have been absolutely first class up until this point in so many ways. And this setback today from losing the game, you can learn from and be better for going forward.
It wasn't our day, and we got to take our medicine and understand that it is, as much as we want to be perfect every day, we weren't tonight, and now we've got to kick on, and this could be a massive thing that we can look at and now bounce back from and use as motivation to remind ourselves that there's still a long way to go here.
Next up, Rangers travel to Easter Road on Sunday to face Hibs in the lunchtime kick-off, while Celtic host St Mirren.
Hearts are in advanced talks to sign Jamie McCart from Rotherham, while Kai Rolls could be on his way out of Tynecastle. Meanwhile, Hibs boss David Gray has been named Manager of the Month, and Kilmarnock captain Kyle Vassell is feared to have suffered a serious leg injury in their win over St Mirren. Jamie Bothwick wraps up the rest of the news from the Premiership.
A double cup winner with St Johnstone. After 2.5 years playing in England, Jamie McCart is set to return north. Hearts have agreed a fee with Rotherham for the 27-year-old defender, with negotiations now progressing towards him joining up with Neil Critchley's side. Meanwhile, Australian international defender Kai Rolls could leave this month Hearts are in talks over a six-figure transfer fee that would see him depart Tynecastle amid reported interest from MLS side DC United. Hearts' busy January started with a home win as Moussa Drama's first half goal was enough to defeat Motherwell, though after missing a number of chances, the visitors nearly stole a point in injury time.
My demand now goes to the players and everybody here at the football club that we show a reaction on Sunday. I think we owe that to ourselves, and I think we owe that to supporters to show a reaction to what was a bad day for us. I spoke about let's not try and dress this up that Craig Gordon kept Hearts in the game in the last wee bit. Yes, we created 2 chances. Yes, it's 2 fantastic saves from him, but we didn't deserve anything out of that game yesterday.
David Gray is the Premiership Manager of the Month for December, but Hibs were unable to make it 5 wins in a row despite St Johnstone playing with 10 men. Nicky Clark gave Saints the lead from the penalty spot, but Dwight Gale found a second-half equaliser. Derek McInnes fears losing Kyle Vassell for a period of time after the striker picked up a shin injury in the 2-0 win over St Mirren. Bruce Anderson netted a double at Rugby Park. Jim Goodwin says Dundee United are doing all they can to keep on-form striker Sam Dalby at the club after the Wrexham loanee netted a dramatic derby winner at Dens Park. The 2-1 victory lifts United up to 3rd place in the table.
We're not talking about European places, we're not talking about top 6. I know it's really boring and probably not what you guys want to hear, but it's still about getting the points required to make sure that we're a Premiership team next season.
United's rise comes at the expense of Aberdeen, who are now 9 games without a win. Stunning strikes from Akio Wright and Noah Chilvers either side of Kevin Nisbet's equaliser handed Ross County the victory at Pittodrie. Jamie Borthwick, STV Sport.
STV Sport, sponsored by the C.R. Smith New Year Sale.
And we have a bit of late breaking transfer news from St Mirren. They've announced the signing of goalkeeper Zach Hemming on loan from Middlesbrough until the end of the season. It is going to be a busy transfer window this January, Kellyanne. We'll have all the latest, I'm sure.
It sure will. All right, thanks very much, Ronnie. Well, we heard earlier in the programme we're in for more icy conditions and snow. Let's get the details now from Philip.
Thank you, Kellyanne. Well, as you'll have heard earlier in Vanessa's report, there's already several weather warnings in place for the weekend. There's already one in force for ice covering the whole of Scotland. That runs until 10 a.m. tomorrow morning as temperatures will plummet again tonight. Now, tomorrow not looking too bad, but the Met Office have already issued a yellow weather warning for snow for Sunday, covering many central, southern and eastern parts. That's where we'll see the heaviest snowfall. There are likely to be further warnings issued over the next couple of days, so do keep an eye out. In the meantime, let's take a look at the forecast.
Wet by the coast, with a high chance of sun and splashing. TUI sponsors STV Weather.
Well, we're now well under the influence of cold Arctic air that's flooded in across the whole of Scotland from the north. It's remaining bitterly cold as we head into the weekend. Saturday not looking too bad though to start things off. A lot of dry and bright weather around. It's Sunday we're keeping an eye on as an area of low pressure crosses the south of the UK. We'll get to that in just a minute. Things are remaining cold as we head into the start of the new working week. Back to just now as we head through this evening. A lot of dry and clear conditions around, so temperatures will drop away quite quickly, leading to another fairly widespread frost and icy conditions overnight. We'll start to see some showers spreading in across the west, trying to push a little further inland, and as they do, they will be falling as snow, mostly on higher ground. Looking ahead to tomorrow, a lot of those showers will try to push a little further eastwards, but they tend to fizzle out throughout the course of the morning. So throughout the course of the afternoon, it's remaining relatively dry for many of us, but it will be cold with highs of around 5 or 6 degrees Celsius despite the sunny spells. Then looking ahead to Sunday, like I said, we've got low pressure moving across the south of the UK, bringing with it rain. As that rain bumps into the cold air, it will be bringing with it snow across central, southern and eastern areas where there is a yellow weather warning in place for the heavy snow. Further west though, we avoid a lot of the wintry conditions, remaining dry and bright here but cold with highs of 3. Bye-bye.
TUI sponsors STV Weather.
And finally, in 1982, the lives of people working in Scotland's coal industry were captured on camera by an American photographer. Alongside the shots of soot-covered men in boiler suits, Milton Rogovin's collection shows miners with their families and out socialising. His work's on show in Kirkcaldy with an up-to-date twist, as Susan Nicholson has been finding out.
Well, they taken these photos in '82, and it could be me, because I started in '82.
For Ian Chalmers and Wattie Watson, this isn't just a trip down memory lane. It's the story of their lives. In 1982, American photographer Milton Rogovin, seen here on the right, came to Scotland to capture images of miners in the pits, at home with their families, and during their leisure time. His collection was taken just 2 years before the miners' strike and mass pit closures.
To see the livelihood in photographs so near to the strike start, it just sort of says to me that it shouldn't have went that way. It shouldn't have been that way. It was a livelihood, it was a way of life, and Milton was able to photograph it prior to the strike happening, and we all know what happened after the strike.
I think he's captured the social side of things, not just things. Everybody's got this mental picture of miners, off the pick and one shoulder, canary and the other end of the barrels are there. And what he's done is he's taken them in their working environment, well, certainly on the surface as far as he could, but he's also captured them, in the home scenario.
The exhibition Before and After Coal at Kirkcaldy Galleries shows Rogovin's photographs and up-to-date images of some of those he met, posed alongside the originals. It was the idea of artist Nicky Bird.
It really happened with, first of all, seeing Milton's photograph of a man with his rather splendid onions in his back garden. And that kind of raised all kinds of questions for me, is how did an American photographer arranged to come to Scotland in 1982. I just became more and more drawn to his photographs of Scottish miners, families and communities. The voices of the communities and the individuals that I then consequently met, that meant that I actually could work out, what was the role of new photographs in conversation with Milton's photographs, and being able to put that story together.
The exhibition runs until the end of April, giving a rare insight into part of Scotland's industrial past. Susan Nicholson, STV News.
A fascinating glimpse of the past there. Well, that's all for the moment. From all of us here on the team, enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye-bye.